Well, presidential historian Doris Kearns Goodwin joins us now. Ms. Goodwin, so what does the president need to do tonight? He's got some good numbers in his favor. His approval ratings are up. The economy is looking better. But what does he need to do in this speech to get the public to believe in his initiatives?
I think the most important thing is that he has to exude a certain kind of renewed confidence in himself and in the presidency now that the economy is indeed improving and his approval ratings are up, so that he can recapture a sense of energy that is still in the White House in these next couple of years. I mean, he has signaled it in these executive orders in the last few weeks, showing a use of power, threatening vetoes on Keystone. But this address, I think, depending not only on what he says, but how he delivers it and the passion he shows, making everybody say, there's still 2 years left. It isn't over yet. We're not yet in the 2016 campaign.
Yeah, but Ms. Goodwin, I also have a question. What happens historically, what has happened historically when a president nears the home stretch of his administration? In other words, you know, we're getting into the last two of these State of the Union addresses. What have you seen, or what do you know of what it's like to be in the home stretch to deliver one of these?
Well, you know, in regular time, the difficulty is that people are already beginning to think about their futures. People are imagining who's going to run in 2016. Attention is focused away from the White House. People are compiling their resumes in the White House. So you have to keep that sense of urgency going. And history suggests that 2 years is a lot of time. And I was just looking back at Franklin Roosevelt's 1939 State of the Union. So that's in January of 39. The Munich Agreement has occurred the fall before, and he's talking about we have peace in the world. It was unsteady, but we have peace. Of course, war breaks out in September of World War II. He then gets elected to an unprecedented third term in 1940, which no one would have guessed in 1939, and goes on to become an entirely new challenged president as the Allied leader against Hitler and Mussolini. So there's time. I mean, that's the important thing a president has to suggest, that it's not all scrunched just because we're thinking about the next guy coming in or the next woman coming in.
So what does history tell us about a president who comes in facing a Republican-controlled Congress in terms of his ability to get any of his agenda passed or completed here?
Well, I think he has still some tools in his box. One is the rhetoric can set the agenda possibly for the next campaign, and it's clear he's going to be talking about, I think, rising inequality and lack of mobility and the need for the middle class to have a fairer chance in the economy. And it does seem like Republicans are catching on that that might be a central issue, too. So the words can matter. His legacy matters in terms of what he talks about in terms of immigration, which may become something even after him, climate control, which may continue after him, and setting the stage for how history views him. And so I think, and then he's got executive orders. I mean, that's what presidents always revert to when they can't deal with Congress. And he's already issued a number of those on immigration. There's probably a few more that he can figure out to do. Congress will always scream and yell because it's part of the checks and balances, but it is with presidential power to do so, and he'll probably signal that again tonight as well.
And Doris, which president historically has had an amazing last 2 years of their presidency? In other words, which president historically has, you know, people have said, oh, this is a lame duck presidency, but have, you know, hit it out of the park and caught everybody, you know, off guards with that success?
Well, I think when you look back at Ronald Reagan's presidency, when you think about the trouble he was in with Iran-Contra and his difficulty in explaining how its involvement was there, and then in the last couple of years, he makes the arms deal with the Soviet Union, and the Cold War seems to have been diminished as a result of that. And he has gone on to become, you know, on the right and on the conservative part, one of the most revered presidents in modern time. So there is time, you know, as I say, and events in the world have a way of changing things that you can't imagine. I mean, certainly Abraham Lincoln in the last couple of years, you know, he only had that extra year of his second term, but the war was won. Had he died before that war was won, everything would have been different. So I think we tend to not look at what is possible because everything's breaking so quickly now. One news cycle goes into the next. that's the difficulty for the State of the Union, I think, now, unlike before. The bully pulpit doesn't have the same power it did when only 3 networks were there, when everybody was watching, when the news would then be communicated. And I think it's one of the reasons he's signaled ahead of time several of his proposals. Like, he doesn't want a one-night stand. He wanted to court the American people over time, so he's already courted us with the community college, the tax proposals, the immigration, and now tonight will be another courting, and then he'll go out on the road and keep doing it. Repetition, repetition, repetition. I think that's necessary in today's world.
All right, thank you very much, Doris Kearns Goodwin. Her latest book is The Bully Pulpit, Theodore Roosevelt, William Howard Taft, and the Golden Age of Journalism. It's published by Simon & Schuster, a division of CBS. Doris, thanks.
All right, tonight Scott Pelley will be joined by Nora O'Donnell for CBS News' coverage of the State of the Union address, live from Washington. That's tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central. Coverage begins 1 hour earlier right here on CBSN.